Today's speaker is from Moms for Liberty. Moms for Liberty is a national organization, but we have a Kids Act chapter. Moms for Liberty is a nonpartisan organization. They welcome all who have the desire to stand for parental rights at all levels of government. But it's not just moms. Moms for Liberty includes dads, cousins, nephews, grandmas, you name it. They call themselves Joyful Warriors. And today we have Joy Gjersvold. Who's a mom of 2 young adults. But even though her kids are out of the public school system, she's here to help moms who have kids. Moms and dads and whomever. Moms here in Kitsap County be joyful warriors and to maintain parental rights. So if you join us in
Is my mic on okay? I think I hear it, I'm not sure. Hopefully. I have a teacher voice too, so. Mom voice, teacher voice, wife voice. Got all of them. First of all, thank you all so much. This is a wonderful, wonderful group of people here today. It's wonderful to be here speaking for you, sharing with you how Moms for Liberty is working here in Kitsap County and now in 8 chapters across Washington State, including Pierce, Snohomish, and King counties.
Wow.
We are exceptionally excited to be here, and we have a lot of work to do. First, I want to introduce myself. This is one of the things that we're working on as an organization, and here is a chapter. We do what we do because it's the right thing to do. I don't care if you know what my background is, but people do need to know your background. So they are wondering who the heck is getting up here and speaking to them. First of all, I have a vice chair, Anne-Marie Adams. She could not be here today. She is a birth to 3-year-old special ed teacher who works for Holly Ridge. She works full-time. She is my partner in Liberty. She is a single mother, and she is neck deep like I am in Moms for Liberty. She is a joyful warrior and a war mom, 100%. We match each other's energy. When she came on about a year ago, December, I thought I had won the lottery. I approached her and I said, so I have this thing I want to ask you. And she said yes immediately, and we haven't stopped since. So I'm a Washingtonian born and bred. I grew up in Eastern Washington, the Tri-Cities. I am the daughter of 2 retired Washington State teachers. I am a former high school teacher. I taught at South Kitsap until my kids came along. And then we put our kids first. My husband is retiring September 30th from the U.S. Navy Submarine Force, and we're not counting. Actually, 20 years was last Friday, actually, but September 30th is the day. I have literally spent 50 years watching the bandwagons come and go in public education here in Washington. I have watched what the union can do to teachers who disagree with the vote to take a strike. It impacted my parents. It impacted my life. They were advised not to go against what they did not believe in because a friend of theirs who had just moved from Minnesota to the Tri-Cities, who was also a teacher, said, I've seen what they will do. They will harass your children. They will kill your animals and leave them on your lawn. They will dox you. They will send people after you. And the people that did cross the picket line, that's exactly what happened to them. We have teachers here in Kitsap County whose administrators have called CPS on them to retaliate for not falling in line. We here are those teachers. We support those teachers. We hold secret meetings for them. I'll get to that in a second. I have, as I said, I've been a full-time Navy spouse. I was an ombudsman, a U.S. Navy family ombudsman, an ombudsman trainer, and I ended up being the assembly chair, so I was the ombudsman to the ombudsman for every one of the submarine commands up at Bangor, so I worked for the Admiral at Group 9. I worked not just as a volunteer for families, but when education topics came up that needed our attention, I made sure to pay attention to those, including Washington State signing the Interstate Compact for military kids, so that military kids are no longer penalized because they have to move so much. Their grades have to be transferred in a timely manner. They don't have to retake state testing for their grade level if they've already taken it. And they can't be sent back a grade level, for instance, or held back because their parents have to PCS so much. That was very important to me. I witnessed what that impact can be on my own students. And it was hard for them. And they shouldn't be punished because their family serves this country. So I also took part in that. Let's see, what else have I done? I'm a mom. Both of my kids are graduated now. My son is 22. My daughter will be 19 in March. And many of the things that have touched us, all of us right now, the progressive ideologies, first of all, they go back starting clear back in the 60s. But my personal life, my daughter, my son have been impacted by this. Because of the policies of social emotional learning and restorative justice, our daughter was bullied to the point of contemplating suicide. She had a plan on paper and they did nothing. Her counselor did not report it as a mandatory reportable, which I know by law she has to do. She's told me, and I quote, "You need to talk to your daughter." About what? Thankfully, we are involved parents, but when this happened, my husband had just buried his 9th shipmate from suicide. We were raw, emotionally. I will not, as long as I have breath in my body, allow another child to go down that road. I will never allow another parent to be where my husband and I were. I collapsed. If I lost my daughter, my whole world would have stopped. Her brother's world would have stopped. And she, as close as they are, as siblings, hadn't even said anything to her brother. She was in that much pain. Her teacher said to her, "Well, maybe now you know what not to do so you don't get bullied." We'll get into SEL, and I know you probably have a lot of questions, but that's what they do. They want you to empathize with your perpetrator. They want you to sympathize with them, and you know something has got to be so bad in their life that that's why they're doing this. So a friend of mine that I graduated from high school, who was a teacher, she also left the profession, back in Illinois, sent me a link one day. She says, "I think you'd like this group, Joy." And it was from their national Facebook page. And 2 days later, I applied to start a chapter in Kitsap County, and we were the first chapter of Moms for Liberty in Washington State, which I kind of like writing about. Mainly because having lived in Eastern Washington and then living over here in Western Washington for 30 years just about, I understand the dynamics of a lot of the political stuff that's going on, but I also understand some of the challenges that are being faced in Eastern Washington. I've been involved in grassroots since I was 18. My mom and her brother started an organization that breaks the cycle, gets to children very young, kindergarten through 5th grade, because the sooner you break the cycle of system-involved families, the better chance you have of changing the course of their life. I've seen it. I know that working in your own backyard works. So that's why I'm here, and I love it. There are days I lose sleep. There are days that I wake up and I think, could they just stop for a second? It seems like we're waking up every day and asking ourselves what fresh hell awaits us in education right now. Because it seems it's almost like there's a room full of people who are just cranking out curriculum, cranking out the highly sexual books. It's like playing whack-a-mole. But the good news is that we can change it. We have to decide to change it. One of the biggest things that and for a lot of us, even partially for me, part of why we got into this fight was masks and the vaccine mandates, especially for our children. So that's what brought a lot of us together. Once that all ended, we saw a huge decline in involvement, nationwide, not just here. And very established groups like the Heritage Foundation, Leadership Institute, they all were reporting the exact same thing. Complacency is real. One of the biggest challenges that we have right now is keyboard warriors. Lots of complaining, no action, okay? Now, I get a lot of flack for calling that out, and I'm okay with that. I knew the risk I was taking. I knew how I was putting myself out there when I started this chapter. I'm okay with that. Call me names. It means I'm over the target. I really don't care. I've been called it all. I am especially hated by the LGBTQ community here because my son is gay, but how dare I not want highly sexual books in our classrooms and in our libraries and all this other stuff. I don't give a rip what adults do. This is America. You can't have liberty without freedom, and we are free to live practicing our own personal liberty. But when you come for our children, all bets are off. All bets are off. And what's funny is, they think we're being driven by dark money. It's so dark we can't see it. Our chapter has been going, 4 people kept our chapter going last year. And we've put a lot of our own personal money into it. We do not have dark money. This is one of the reasons that I love Moms for Liberty. I will not be part of something. I personally am sick and tired of everything on both sides of the aisle. I want by the people, for the people again. So I wanted something that was nonpartisan, and I'll be honest with you, it's given me a chance. I am a better voter. I'm a better citizen, because I'm sitting up in the balcony calling out everybody. Because that's what we should be doing. Don't call people rhinos. Call out what they did wrong that made them abandon their conservative values. End of story. Nicknames are just nicknames. Okay? I kind of started going off on this a little bit. Sorry. I'm a little bit passionate about that.
Tell us what you really think.
I know, exactly. It's so hard to tell, isn't it? So, what we decided to do, Anne-Marie and I, we are both very goal-driven, and people like goals. When you can see a goal in front of you and you can check things off of the list, it motivates you, a lot of people. So, 2022, she came on board. We set some goals, and one of those goals, right out of the gate, because it's very important to all of us, but especially Anne-Marie, is a very special Parents' Bill of Rights. I'm sure that you've heard in the news that Florida's passed it, South Carolina's passed it, a bunch of other states have passed it. Like, I think we're up to 16 states now that have it. What's special about this Parental Bill of Rights is it doesn't just focus on education. It pulls in the judicial system, DSHS, foster care, medical, mental health, and there's teeth in it. Parents will be can sue if their children are injured or hurt by the programs that they are being forced to be part of. We want that. That is a huge pie in the sky. I want that so badly I can taste it. If I could walk into Olympia today and say, make it so, I would. But the truth is this. They didn't do this overnight. They did this a little bit. Little tiny, chipping away at us. We can set big goals, but we have to do the little stuff that turns into big stuff. So Anne-Marie and I set that goal aside. We haven't stopped, we're still doing all the stuff. But we set that aside and we made our focus 3 things. Education, which aligns with our mission statement, to educate, to empower, and to unite parents and families, communities all over the United States to stand up for their parental rights and their rights at all levels of government. So education was one of the things that we really focused on. We do that through outreach, which we love. It is our bread and butter. We do that through gratitude, recognizing people who do good things. If chapter members see someone exemplifying what a joyful warrior is, we want to know about it. We have a certificate that we've made for them. They get cookies. I make them a little, patriotic thing that they can hang up at their house. We thank them. We publicly recognize them. We can't wait till we can start publicly recognizing our teachers. Right now, that has to be on the down low. We send flowers, we do little things. Because a lot of them, we have three groups of teachers. Those that are just woke and think that they know everything. Those who really got to feed their family, and if they lose their job, there's a problem. And those who really feel called to stay in it, to give us all the good stuff. And they are. They risk a lot to give us the information that they give us. We do a lot of background work behind all the pictures that we get sent and screenshots of training and different things so that nothing can ever get back to our teachers, to our staff members, to even our administrators who speak to us. So that's what we focus on. And with outreach, we've done a variety of things. Last summer, it was 4 or 6 different Saturdays, we were at parks all up and down the Kitsap Peninsula. My favorite was Bainbridge Island. All these moms looking at us like this over their coffee cups like, ooh, who are they? It was fantastic. So what do? We march right up to them. How are you? Do you guys like some bubbles? We've got water. Are the kids thirsty? It's hot out. So they haven't met us, clearly. We're shy and retiring.
And it's Bainbridge Island.
Yeah, I know, exactly. But there are a few up there. There are little tiny pockets of conservative-minded people. We love them so much. We're trying to get them to come out from the shadows. We're working on it. So that's one thing that we do. We take invitations. We accept invitations to wonderful, wonderful events like this where we get to share what we do. We make sure that we've got the tools and resources that parents need so that you're educated. I thought that the military was alphabet soup. Try what's going on in education right now. Everything's an acronym, and they change them regularly to gaslight you into thinking that you're crazy. But we don't have that. Yes, you do. Let me show you. Okay, so there's that. We do trainings. We just, after our chapter meeting this past Tuesday, Anne-Marie and I will be briefing, and it is very clear that our special education parents and families need a workshop on IDEA, so the federal laws that guide what your children of special needs are entitled to for
Define
services.
IDEA, please. No.
It is individuals. Oh boy, this is when I need Anne-Marie here.
That's their plan for education.
Yeah, it's education federal law that guides, like if you have a child that is on an IEP or a 504 and they need these services, those laws guarantee those services.
Okay, thank you.
And also guarantee that you can get into a school, like if you're in a wheelchair. So IDEA, it encompasses a lot of different things, but mainly policy. And I'm going to think of it, I will get the name of it for you.
Just blurt it out.
There you go, I remember. 2 a.m. is probably when it'll happen. So we do a lot of workshops and training. We do a lot of sharing about current legislation. So we are a 501c4. We cannot have our own PAC and use the Moms for Liberty name. We can support, and if we vote as a chapter, we can endorse school board members for their run, which we have 15 seats in Kitsap County in November to flip. If we flip those 15 seats, we will have majority parental rights and liberty-minded parents. We have got to do it. South Kitsap's on fire right now. They have a couple of absolute lions who have stepped up to run. So, and they're mad. They're very mad. And Bainbridge Island, we've already had a dad step up, which is awesome. We have had a lot of, one of the things real quick that I love, I know that you mentioned that we're not just moms, that we're dads, we're uncles, everybody. Most of the people who have stepped up to lead our community at the school board level have been dads, uncles, and grandpas. And that is awesome. And they are such good men, and they are rooted in the Constitution. It's going to be hard for our chapter to pick one endorsement per school district, but that's what we have to do. So we educate when we offer training for people that are interested. Even if you don't know if you want to run, if you just want to learn about running, we have a very close relationship with Leadership Institute. And after this last November, where 49% of the Moms for Liberty endorsed school board candidates won nationwide. We flipped an entire California school board, and we flipped a couple of them in Florida, which I know you guys think is easy as Florida. It's not. It is not. The AFT, the American Federation of Teachers, and the NEA, the National Education Association, pumps hundreds of thousands of dollars into races that they don't want to see flipped. And that's exactly what they did, and it was a waste of money, which I'm happy about. So we actually set up, national set up, several, I think there's at least a dozen pre-scheduled training sessions for people that are thinking about running, your campaign staff, how I talk to the press, everything you can think of for running for school board. Those are already set up. And if you become a member or are already a member of our chapter, you get to attend those for free. We have a coach for you to do that. But if you aren't a member, they're usually anywhere from $10 to $25 per session per workshop, and they are phenomenal workshops. I've been to almost all of them. And I do not plan on running, I just want to be able to support people. So that's another way that we do this. Another thing that we do is we help parents that are in crisis get connected to the resources that they need right now in order to protect their children. We have legal resources that we can refer them to. We can't guarantee that those entities will take their cases, but we do have a list that we put together through all of our chapters, which I forgot to tell you, we now have 270 chapters in 44 states with over 110,000 registered members in the United States. That's winning, is what that is. So, Anne-Marie and I answer calls for help in the middle of the night. As far as we'll wake up to messages, or we are night owls. We always joke when we're on Messenger, if the green light's on, we're up. And people message us or they email us, and we help them with that. We connect them with other families. And a couple of our big concerns, it's all concerning to us, but one of our largest concerns is we are very, very worried about our special education kids right now. So I'm going to use this as my bridge into talking a little bit about SEL, social emotional learning. We know from a teacher, one of our super squirrels, that beginning next fall, for sure, in North Kitsap, which means you can bet it's going to happen everywhere. They are all monkey see, monkey do. It's usually CK does it first or NK, and then everybody else follows. It's usually how we've been seeing stuff work. Starting next year, teachers will have access to the historical data that has been collected by the Panorama data mining surveys for social emotional learning. Okay? They are now being told in North Kitsap, do not make referrals for students that you think need special services, and we are not taking parent referrals right now. Here's why. They're going to base whether your child needs services off of the Panorama survey data. It's awful. What we are seeing happen, just one second, what we're seeing happen in other states in the nation is right now the law says once you apply, they have this many days to review it, this many days to make the referrals, all of that. Well, this is a 25-day cycle that they just keep hitting the reset button on. So there are children who've been waiting over a year to get the special services, speech pathology, all of that, all of those kinds of services at school. Yes?
I wonder, what did you call it? The Panorama?
Panorama education surveys.
And what is that?
I will tell you. So, social emotional learning is a billions of dollar industry in the United States right now, most of which comes from data mining. And they don't just data mine your children, they are gathering information on your family, 100%. They did out a set of surveys in the fall and in the spring, And sometime starting January 1st-ish, there's also a CDC Healthy Child Survey that goes out. I'll get to that in a second. But what they're doing, they ask questions, very invasive questions, like, do you feel safe at home? They've been asked if there are guns in the home. They've been asked,
Doctors ask old people.
well, they ask all of us. Navy's been doing it for years. And I always say, none yet. But what social emotional learning surveys do is it gives them a snapshot supposedly, into that child on that day. Depending on how the child reads the question, maybe they're mad at mom and dad, I hate my home life, and they say that they feel unsafe. Okay? That data is now collected. You can't undo it. One of the questions that we keep asking is, who are you sharing this data with? They keep telling us no one, and I keep calling foul, because I know that you got to sign a contract with Panorama. So, a little background on Panorama. Panorama Education is owned in part by the son-in-law of A.G. Garland, who labeled us domestic terrorists because we talk loud at board meetings. Okay? Which, by the way, some of our Moms for Liberty moms have been targeted by the FBI. All are fine, but it's just not fun. One of the biggest donors to Panorama is Mark Zuckerberg through his Chan Zuckerberg Foundation. We know when he was at Congress saying yes or no, we are collecting stuff on people on Facebook, he admitted that he's taken some of that data from Panorama and given it to Harvard, but nobody knows what for or why. And your student's identification number from the school district is attached to every single piece of that. Now, they are supposed to send out the announcement of when the surveys are going to be starting and ending, and send out a parent opt-out form.
This is the North.
This is all of KidSat, okay? They're supposed to do that. What we find is, are any of you familiar with Peach Jar? If you have kids or if you're, okay. So Peach Jar is another thing that they can sign. It's another entity that school districts can use to send out flyers. But like SSRW, you can say, hey, we have an event coming, and send it in to have it possibly put out on all of the student media, like to the parents, okay? You pay for it. Well, what they do is they send out all these Peach Jar announcements and squished right in the middle. Oh, by the way, we're going to do the Panorama surveys on these dates. Parents don't see that. Most of the time, because I see Peach Jar, delete. I fully admit it, because you're just getting so much information. But then they can say, well, we told them. And then, sometimes when you ask for the opt-out form, well, we don't know how to do that. That is the excuse that we've gotten from all 5 districts. Yes, you do, and if you won't provide it for me, I have my own opt-out form. Now, social emotional learning, you cannot opt your children out of it, and here's why. You can't opt out of it, and you should opt out of all of the surveys. Every survey, even the ones on district climate, it's all data mining. And it all has an end game that I'll get to. But you can't opt your children out of SEL because it is literally baked into every topic, every curriculum right now. The only way to protect your kids from it is to not be in public education. Honest and true. Jim?
Well, I was just going to say, I know my 14-year-old granddaughter, at the beginning of this school year, in 8th grader, out of Central Middle School. And my daughter, contacted me and said, do you know anything about SEL? And I said, yeah, I know it's not good. It's probably another term for CRT and et cetera, et cetera. And so she tried to opt out because they were closed Wednesday mornings at 8 o'clock before your first period. And so she opted out, and you know what they did? They changed the day to the next day, or no, the day before. So she ended up going because she opted out for the Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly.
And then my granddaughter felt bad that she didn't go because all her friends were going.
They know that.
What they're supposed to say.
Exactly. They do that on purpose. It is insidious. It absolutely is. So social emotional learning, think of it, and I'll show you a little graphic here in a moment, but think of it as an operating system on your computer. Social emotional learning is then what they call all the programs, CRT, queer theory, trans ideology. And by the way, CRT right now, the new name is relevant teaching. I told you they change it all the time. So, yeah, culturally relevant teaching is what they're on right now. But the reason that this is so insidious is there are lots of programs, like Second Step is one of them that's used, the curriculum used a lot in our districts here in Kitsap. Second Step, back in the 80s and 90s, was good. When my mom was an elementary school counselor, and she had high-risk kids come in, social emotional learning was for kids who needed to have that extra. Now they assume that you all stink as parents and family for trying to hurt your kids, so of course they need social emotional learning. Okay? And they've twisted it into, well, of course, you know, like my daughter's bully, of course he bullied you. He has a hard life. Okay, but no. All right? What does that teach our kids? That's why we have a rape culture right now at our high schools here. They're getting away with it.
What did you just say? A rape culture? In what way? I mean,
Sexual assault is up and punishments are down. And the reason for that goes into an ideology that is called restorative justice. Restorative justice is, and Obama, this was one of his favorite programs. He loved it because he swore that restorative justice would help us keep from putting too many children of color into the judicial system. Okay? Now we all know that that system needs to be fixed in California, where they say that they're so welcoming and so broken. Right? They target those kids. What it actually does is it puts more children of color in the system, and here is why. And actually, I have one thing I want to show you here. Oh, thank you. Who put this note up here for me? Oh, thank you. IDEA is Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Thank you so much. I was like, individuals with it, now I don't know. Thank you. Social emotional learning and restorative justice are inextricably woven together. Okay? If you don't punish a child, whatever that punishment should be for what they've done, they're going to continue pushing the envelope of what can they get away with. That results in, by the time these students are held accountable, it's automatically a felony or a misdemeanor. It's automatic jail time. How many of you saw the video or know the story of the little girl and the little boy, brother and sister that were beaten on the school bus in Florida last week? Okay. Did you know he was given a civil citation and let go back to school? Oh, yeah. That's it. Yeah. But that's also an example of Florida, just because DeSantis is there, doesn't mean it's easy peasy. There are still people who believe in this big time, and they have pockets of school districts that subscribe to this. Andrew Pollock, the dad of Meadow Pollock, who was one of the kids killed in Parkland, he was one of our speakers at our first annual summit last July. You must read this book, Why Meadow Died. If you want to understand SEL, its impact on our kids, and how it's going to turn kids into criminals is what it's going to do. He pulled the curtain back further than we had on this. And he was out for some butts. And luckily, we've seen some legislation come from this, at least in Florida. It's spreading out, but I highly, highly recommend this book so that it helps you understand why. Restorative justice is a means of, they say that it's to be cutting back on racism, but the truth is the program is racist. You're singling out specifically white children and telling them that they're not really victims of whatever just happened. And you are making victims out of children of color. It's awful. It's horrible. And anytime you hear someone try to defend restorative justice, you call them what they are. They're racist.
Reverse racism.
There's no such thing. and it comes in all colors. It's insidious, all of it. We have to stop that. So SEL is one of the things, and I would assume, are there more questions about SEL, how it's being used or anything like that?
I was hoping that we could use the microphone for.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I can.
Run it to people, fantastic. Do you guys have any questions
This is
right now?
important information. So are there any questions?
Awesome.
I just wanted to ask, what should we be looking for? Like, you have grandchildren, like I do, that's still in middle school. What should we be looking for if she's in that SEL class and be aware of to look out for?
That is a great question. And I'm actually working on little business cards to hand people with a couple of tips and tricks. And here are the tips and tricks. Because it is in curriculum, all curriculum, that's the first thing you should look at. Okay? You can do that by getting a hold of your school district curriculum specialist, or you can do a public records request and get the curriculum yourself.
My daughter already did with that.
Okay. Here are words and acronyms to look for. Diversity, equity, inclusion. Those are several of them. If restorative justice is mentioned, that's another one. And I have a lot of materials I plan on emailing to all of you that then you can email out so you have them as well. Because a lot of what we have is electronic right now. So that's another one. The other thing that you need to look at is every one of the social emotional learning curriculums themselves, so Second Step and a few others, they have an infographic of how this works. In the center of Second Steps is school and community. That's what should be most important at the center of our children's lives. Do you want to know where families are? Second to last ring on that infographic.
And what is that graphic called?
It's Second Steps. Yep, infographic. Yep. And one of the things that I'm going to be sending to you all, and the only reason I don't have these printed to hand out yet is we're trying to get sponsors to help us pay for printing these. Moms for Liberty, and I can pass this around. Moms for Liberty, right before the holidays, printed a social emotional learning guide for parents, grandparents, everybody. This is free. You can get it on the Moms for Liberty website under resources. This has, pull up the graphic. This, I know it's small, but this is the graphic from Second Steps. Just a bunch of circles. And I'll pass this around so you can look at it. But this is a down and dirty guide. What do I need to know? Things to look for. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, this appears to me to be an outgrowth of Common Core, which also included emotional learning, etc.
That was the stepping stone.
Where is Bill Gates in this? He's in every other foul proposition.
Yeah, that's a great question. So he's neck deep. He loves this, and where he is making the most impact is he controls our charter schools right now.
In Washington State.
In Washington State. Yes. Yeah. So I will tell you, he does it by enticing them with money. I'll tell you exactly how he does it. So our one charter school here in Kitsap County is not getting rave reviews. I've seen some of what they've done. It's not good. I wouldn't put my children there. But I don't want to scream too loud about it. This is where I have to educate parents, because if I scream too loud, they're going to say, well, then you don't believe in school choice. Yes, I do, but it has to be done right. And that means no Bill Gates. So what Bill does is Bill says, hey, I'll buy your curriculum, but you have to teach X. Hey, I'll pay for all of your computers, but you have to use this computer with this stuff on it. You don't get a choice. And money talks. I know, I get so frustrated. I'm at a point in my life, I've been a military wife. Like, most people know military doesn't get paid a whole lot, okay? It was a conscious decision not to work and be a stay-at-home mom. We made adjustments. I have learned the power of enough instead of the power of things. I've never seen a hearse, but you won't find it, ever. Ever. write me a check for $1 million. If it comes with strings, I wouldn't accept strings for money donated to our chapter because we have to stick to our mission. So we need to have people on our boards for our schools, and that includes public school because they too get money from all of these different entities. Say no and educate them on why they should say no. Yeah, but the money. I get it. When did public education become a business instead of about children and academic preparation? 65% of third graders in the United States cannot read at third grade level. That is the biggest marker for success for their entire career in school. 50% of high school seniors last year could not read at 12th grade reading level, which is actually 8th grade reading level.
We have time for a couple more questions.
I'm trying to, I'm glad you're helping me.
I would like to know if we have in Central Kitsap, we have some seats available.
Yep.
Is there resources from you that will help me find candidates for those positions or know if I'm qualified and how do I go about getting that?
Absolutely. I can send you a whole ton of information. I'm going to make sure you guys have my cards. We'll connect and I'll send you everything that we handed out to a meet and greet we had at the end of January.
How do we get on your either newsletter list or mailing list?
Email.
Okay.
You just email me and I will make sure it happens.
I just want to let everybody know that Rose and the board will be getting together to see how we can connect more and have that available on our website as well. So
Awesome.
we will let you know. I'm going to go to Barbara and get back to you. Okay. All right, Barbara, 2 minutes.
Yes, I'm Barbara, and I only found 2 minutes up here. You have more.
I have a whole box with me.
I will do it up.
I will
And also, I'd like to put a plug in for military wives. I was a military wife for 30 years, and it really sickens me when I ask, like at the auto shop, get my car done, do you have, it's on a Thursday, do you have a military discount? Oh yes, on Wednesday. I have started saying, really? The military serves you 24/7 all year.
I have a question.
Yes, absolutely.
I bet a lot of people in the room are wondering how they can help you from home. And they thought, when you have some ideas about school boards and things like that.
Help me from home.
Yeah.
You said
Yeah.
you mean like doing things at home to help us? Okay, yes, absolutely. So Anne-Marie and I actually just had a meeting with one of our new reps yesterday, and one of the biggest things that he said that he has seen is that conservatives are really good about the easy stuff. Please go and register your con or your pro or your other. They don't take the next step of testifying, and you don't have to be there in person. You can do it via Zoom, or you can type up testimony and email it in. So that's one thing. Be involved at the state level, especially for bills that have to do with education. Okay? The other thing is run for school board, or just get to the meetings, and you can do that from home through Zoom. We put up all of the links for Zoom. We put them in every parent group here in Kitsap County. So look for that and go to the website. Learn your district's policy because they are coming down from WASDA, the Washington State School Board. Oh, that's another thorn in my side. But learn what those policies are because you need to learn what your rights are. So, and very quickly, another thing about the 14-year-old situation, showing up and having it, teach your kids, they have rights. Teach them age appropriately. I need to call mom. I need to call dad. Gather your things quietly, say no thank you, and walk out. That is protected by law. Well done. So please help your kids. And we have great resources for speaking to your kids about their rights.
Okay, I just wanted to ask you, I'm guessing you know about the school board situation itself.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
We're trying to bully Jeff Davis, and then one of them, all
Yeah.
the board, they asked him to resign.
Yep.
I have the letter, and I have the letter from him back to them too. Pretty amazing.
Yep, we just shared that this morning, actually.
What do you think about that? I mean, what, you know?
Well, I will tell you one thing. I've been going to their meetings. I trust Tim Winter, the superintendent, about as far as I can throw him. He's a
Yeah.
politician.
Yeah, right.
He thinks he's handling me, and I handle him in every single meeting.
Yay.
People underestimate him a lot, to their detriment. But Mr. Berg got a hold of me and tried to get into our private Facebook group. We don't have school board members in there because we want business for school board done in public square, not on our private page, okay? He tried to tell me that he's the conservative, and I absolutely threw it back at him and said, oh, really? All righty, because everything's a public record, he can go back and show things. He's trying to play the woe is me, and Jeff is so mean.
Write a letter and send it certified mail.
Yes.
Absolutely.
One thing I would like to add
Yes.
is that don't just look at your House bills that are educationally oriented. There's one right now that's House Bill 1333,
Yes.
which Barb just sent out. If you read through that, it is entitled the Domestic Violent Extremist Commission. If you read the bill, you will find out what they are penetrating, or what they will start going after the people that attend school board
Yes.
meetings that speak out as terrorists. So you need to read the bills.
Yes.
Always respond.
And just so you know, that is going to be part of our legislation.
I have a good friend that's a teacher.
Okay.
She's things that are happening in school. She just wants to, she's always frustrated. And I said, I know there's some basically underground things going on. So how, besides telling her to get involved with you guys,
Have her reach out to me or Emery personally, and our stuff is on our card, because we don't even tell our executives who comes to those
she
meetings.
had information, and I would trust her. If it's anonymous stuff, I just get it anywhere. So, yeah, also,
Yes.
when I went to see, Washington Administration, they're coming to all this.
Yes.
So, doesn't the Constitution trump that?
It does. There's some stuff that really needs to be fixed about that. Yes.
If you write a letter and you send it certified mail,
Yep.
I learned this from a person that works around the United States, they must respond. One time I wrote a letter to the school board and to the principal of the high school, because that's where the issue was. And about 3 days later, I got a phone call, and I was gobsmacked. The principal wanted to talk to me. You need to know, 2,000 people were at that meeting. Yours was the singular letter, I want to talk to you.
Yep, wow.
And I was gobsmacked. But the additional is to send it certified mail. Then they cannot deny it. And I don't care if they come back at me and say, oh, look, all these people wrote letters, find me.
Yep, exactly.
There's a
Yes,
person here.
I have a simple question
Sure.
that nobody's asked yet.
absolutely.
How are our private schools in South County? Are they a safe place to go? Do they have this as religious and the media?
So we have a couple new classic, like the real conservative, brand new schools that are starting up. They and All Saints, they are on point. Some of the other schools are having to push back on Olympia because Olympia and all of their awesome wealth of knowledge and education amounts to nothing, has decided that they think that the state should have a person that represents the state on a private school like their board of directors. Now, that's a Trojan horse to get this stuff in. Right now, I can honestly say, and I can only go off of what we have experienced, we have not had any parents come to us with red flags from our private schools so far. And I hope it stays that way. I will be very honest with you. applied. This is another one of those things that I get attacked for a lot because I call it out. We are told all the time, we don't want any part of that because we're not political. We aren't either. Parent rights are not political. They cross all lines. I'm not going to come in and tell someone how to vote on something. I want people to know so that they can defend their children. I asked my almost 19-year-old the other day, can you help me out? Because you have some ideas that you did not learn at our house. But we absolutely disagree on. One of them is this whole that gender can be fluid. Now I'm going to undergird this with, my daughter is her mother's daughter. She's very stubborn, so there's some of that there too. But I asked her, where did you get these ideas? Like, I wanted it from a Gen Z so I can give these examples. She's like, Mom, it's everywhere. It's in every employment contract I've signed. It's in, and the big one was social media and YouTube influencers. We know that's a huge one. If I could go back and do it again, my kids would have never been on the internet.
Thank you, Joy. I'm sorry we do have to bring this one in, but I want you to stay right here. We have a special gift from a very special member. This is Sharon Frey.
Hi.
And Sharon has something to
Thank you.
Well, just a thank you gift for coming here and telling us all this really important information. We appreciate it so much. And so I have here a book for you by Leon Gadsden, and it's got the 28 principles of the Constitution. And if we could all just copy those in our city, state, county, country, everything would be just fine.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it so much.
And also, there's something that we're working on off and on here, a little Constitution Basics class handout.
So we are launching a mentoring program for youth. We need to talk. This is a huge part of this.
need to
Yes,
I'll be glad to help out.
absolutely. Thank you. Oh my goodness, see, you're like us. We don't get up here and say a whole bunch of stuff. We just do it because it's the right thing to do.
That's
I love
right.
that. Thank you. This is very special.
Oh, this is
I appreciate it. I can't wait to